Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar titled Getting Your Business Enterprise Compliant to the New FIRS Mandate, E-invoicing mandate. And this webinar is hosted and proudly brought to you by DigiTax and will be your host for today. So without much further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Olu, to take us through the session. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Olumide. I'm terribly sorry. I am in the office and the power situation, literally as I joined this meeting, just went out. So my video will be off until that is rectified because I'm sort of now in the darkness. I'm sure that has been fixed. I hope everyone's having a good day. Thank you very much for joining us. I will be running through some of the bits regarding how exactly the e-invoicing thing works and why this is required at this time. I will also run through a presentation of sorts. I'm also hoping that we can have John on the call, who is the project lead on the technical side for the e-invoicing rollout from the regulator side of things. So hopefully I'm also able to bring him on at some point to also come and speak to the service in itself. And so we'll take some time doing that, and then we'll do a technical demo as well at some point. I'll also talk through basically some of the things that are involved in all of these things. Please, I'm not sure how to know if people are hearing me. If you can hear me, please let me know so that I can continue. Aseta, are you here? Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So we're trying to get a presentation up now.
You'll post it again.
Sorry? I didn't get that.
No,
Anyway,
Olu, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So I am trying to share my screen. So just give me 1 second again to get through to share for us to be able to present this thing. Also confirming from our FIRS technical partners if they're on the call so that they can join as well. And then we can proceed. So just bear with me, give me 1 second. Let me set that up. Okay. We are back with the power situation. All right, can everyone see my video now? Excellent. So, okay. All right, thank you very much, everyone. So, what is the context? I'll try to lay some groundwork on the whole e-invoicing service before hopefully John joins and he takes us through how the FIRS has thought about this. So the federal government has decided that they want to regularize what happens with taxes in Nigeria. What does that mean? It means that they want people. What does that mean? It's very clear. Super simple way. They want people who are paying more than they should to now start paying more than they should. The exact amount of taxes that they need to be paying. They want those who are not paying enough. They want those who are not paying enough, and they want those who are not paying at all to now start paying. And they want those who are not paying at all to now start paying. So basically, they are widening the tax net to make sure that more people are gotten into the under the tax umbrella. Under the tax umbrella. What does that mean? So they have gone ahead with the platform where every transaction that you run as a business. Every transaction that you run as a business now runs through the FIRS platform. So that way, they're able to see every single transaction that they are carrying out as a business. They're able to see every single regulate all of these transactions when that you are regularize them when you are filing. And they're able to then regulate all of these transactions or regularize them when you are filing your taxes. So that's why we are here. And then at the end of the day, what this means is that there's a lot more people who should be paying taxes because they are doing business in Nigeria who will now be paying those taxes. And those who are not paying taxes now have to start paying those taxes. And what does it mean for the average business? It means that now there's a lot of clarity in terms of how much your taxes are, what your liabilities are at the end of the month, and what you need to pay and all of that. What that means is that the situation, for instance, where somebody comes in and says they're from the FIRS and you have X amount that you need to pay in taxes and Y amount that you need to pay in taxes and all of that you have not paid, that no longer happens. And now you are am I still echoing? Is this fine? Are we good?
It has now stabilized. We can hear you with one device.
We're good to go. Please confirm that we're good. Okay, excellent. So the situation then becomes now you have to run all of your transactions through the FIRS platform to make sure that you are complying with all of their statutes and that you are paying the right amount of money. So now the FIRS has built something called the merchant buyer system platform, and they have licensed, because they cannot go out and license tens of millions of businesses in Nigeria to be on that platform. They have licensed 16 of us, of which DigiTax is one, to connect to that platform and then go out and connect all the other millions of businesses in Nigeria, starting with businesses that are doing 5 billion and above in revenue on an annual basis in Nigeria. So the folks who have a deadline of November 1st, within which they have to integrate, are the folks who are doing 5 billion and above for now. But by January, the bucket or the umbrella opens to everybody else. So SMEs that will be required to connect. Everybody else below 5 billion will be required to connect as well. So I want John to talk through, I think he's here. I just saw that he joined. So I want John to talk through the entire idea. We shall present the deck that speaks to the e-invoicing service itself and how the FIRS is thinking about it. John will talk through that because that's pretty much his deck. And then I'll come back to talk through what we do as a company and our product. And then I'll hand over to Rebecca to talk through the technicals bit. And then we'll open the floor up to questions at different points. After John is done, we'll take questions. After I'm done, we'll take questions. Also, after Rebecca's done, we'll take questions as well in terms of how this needs to go. So in case we have any technical people in the room, we've got you. There's people who will run through, Rebecca will run through the APIs and the dashboards for you so that you have an idea what this looks like. If there are business people also on the call, we've got you as well. We'll tell you what this means, how this is supposed to go, and exactly what the benefits are for your business by aligning with this policy that the FIRS has created. So I want to invite Mr. John Atomade. Is he here? So John, can you signify if you are here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi. Can you hear me?
I saw John join.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, it's here. John from the Akubi. John, we can't hear. I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
All right, thank you.
I can't hear John.
All right.
I know he's on the call. I just don't know if he's speaking.
Yeah,
John,
I can
you
hear
say
you.
something?
Yes, I can hear you, Olumide. I don't know. I don't know why he's unable to hear me. But please, anyone else who can hear me should please
Okay.
signify so that we can
I'll
go there.
try to. I'll try to run through. Okay, excellent. Sorry, please go ahead if you can hear him.
All right. Just give me a minute. All right, I'm already sharing my screen. Please confirm if you can share my screen, if you can see my screen. All right, so that's fine. So thank you very much, everyone. My name is John, and I lead the technical operations for the Akibin technology, and we are the implementer, the lead technical implementer for the merchant buyer solution, which is the e-invoicing system for the Federal Inland Revenue Service, soon to be National Revenue Service for Nigeria. So I believe you're able to see my screen. I'll just run us through what it means, basically. Yeah, the background, why the e-invoice in Nigeria. Number one is because of the global shift towards digitization of tax administration, right? And then the dynamic business nature, right? The business environment is becoming really rapidly dynamic. We have a lot of major shifts, and there's a lot of things going on now that weren't happening in some decades ago, right? And as far as we are concerned, the whole world is moving towards digitalization or digitization of tax administration, right? The need to promote real-time fiscal transparency and economic planning, right? The need for growing digital transaction volumes. Almost every organization or every country is trying to ensure that they are able to mitigate around the black holes. And what do I mean by black holes? The black holes are what is literally called the informal sector as of today. The informal sectors are the environments where transactions happens, goes in and out without any trace and without any documentation. It makes it difficult for us to for Nigeria to actually say for sure or for certainty what its GDP is. You understand? So it's a lot of headache trying to estimate in that environment, in that regard, right? And the e-invoicing is actually the antidote, is the plan to be able to step into that. It's also the e-invoicing is Nigeria's bigger plan to curb tax fraud and plug revenue leakages, and broaden the tax base, as well as Nigeria's commitment to align with international standards. Talk about universal business language and the pan-European procurement online. Let me take you through the journey so far. The FIRS has actually journeyed from tax administration 1.0, where you have paper-based and siloed processes of tax administration, right? Where the tax administration is centered on the tax administrator, right? Everything about the tax is known understood and administered by the tax administrators. So the tax administrators or the tax managers, in short, have the entire knowledge base. They understand and know exactly what to do. They are the ones that must tell everyone what to do. They are the ones that would analyze, do assessments, and tell you how much you are going to pay at the end of the year, right? At the end of the tax period, that is tax administration 1, right? And then we eventually moved and maneuvered into tax administration 2.0, where taxpayers becomes the customer, right? And then the taxpayer gradually becomes like the focal point of tax administration. In this case, the taxpayer is able to file, is able to submit certain technology, certain details of their filing using technological tools, and they are able to sit within their office space and just upload certain documents for the tax administrators to review. And it reduces the pressure, the better targeting of resources, for getting tax administration ongoing. You have the technology tools for uploading, for relating with the tax administrators, and gradually the taxpayer is becoming the important bride of the whole journey. And now that is not even the end. There is now the tax administration 3.0. Tax administration 3.0 is where taxpayers' natural systems falls at the center of the entire tax administration. Tax administration and other parts of government will just adopt processes to work seamlessly with those systems. And tax administration simultaneously becomes more resilient, more agile, and something that just happens. In this case, tax just happens. You have data only once, meaning that once you have integrated with the tax, with the natural system of the taxpayer, you have no need to ask further questions. Everything that needs to be known is already declared, right? And tax administration, tax just happens in that process. So we have the current state, just to bring us a little bit up to speed, the current state versus the future state of e-invoicing. Currently, we have many potential taxpayers, because most times people will ask us, what problem are you trying to solve with e-invoicing, right? And number one is the potential. There are a lot of potential taxpayers that do not pay tax already. There are a lot of people who are not already in the tax net, because the yardstick for measuring their qualification for tax remittance is not very straightforward. It's heavily and largely dependent on how or how much information the tax administrators have about the taxpayers. I hope we're still together. Please confirm you're still hearing me and you can see my screen, so that I'm not speaking to myself alone. All right, thank you very much. And those who currently pay taxes, they underpay, and based on the turnover suppression, VAT agents do not even remit fully to FIRS, and overclaims of impute VAT, in some cases, right, where some people, of course, I've heard this, we have heard this mentioned severally, that tax avoidance is legal, right? But it is criminal to evade tax, right? So there are ways by which some people try to evade tax by claiming impute VAT, based on transactions that never happened, and expenses overestimation, monies paid are partially remitted. A large portion of economic activity occurs within the informal sector, like I mentioned earlier, often escaping the taxation. Now, the future, what e-invoicing intends to solve is to provide visibility into all financial transactions done in Nigeria. That way, we have the full account of the GDP, right? And we'll have the real GDP, not the estimate that is being given right now. And then we have improved revenue for the federal government. You have insight into companies that are doing business but are not in the tax net. Then you have insight into the actual VAT liabilities, those who need to claim VAT. What we have seen is that a lot of companies have legit claims to VAT inputs. You have done business genuinely with some other companies. However, those companies did not remit those VAT to the government, and because of that, you have suffered the VAT, and you cannot claim it when the time comes for the tax auditing. Those are some of the heavy blow that is dealt taxpayers. And this, with e-invoicing, you can provide information as regards the transaction that has happened that involves you suffering VAT via e-invoicing. The synergy between the government and agency becomes even a lot more formidable, and then we'll have a single source of truth. Right? And so, because of this, the federal government is trying to provide the e-invoicing and leveraging on the international standards such as UBL, to facilitate the seamless creation, validation, submission, and of electronic invoices, which will also integrate with key national data entities like NRS, NBS. NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, will have for certainty what is happening. In fact, when government needs to help a business, they have direct information to make those judgments. They have accurate statistics to help them make those judgments, to assist where it is necessary, right? And the key features of the e-invoicing, number one is the invoice itself, the e-invoice itself, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. The invoice itself, as well as the mechanism for sending and receiving the e-invoicing, right? The e-invoice itself is based on the UBL format, that's the Universal Basic Business Language, right? That is adopted to ensure that the e-invoice generated follows a template that is globally acceptable, right? And that is what has been done. And it might interest you to know that majority of the ERP solutions leverages the UBL format, the UBL standard, for the at the core of the system. They leverage this format such that you are not using AMT for amount and somebody is spelling it AMOUT as for amount, or you are using LTD for limited and somebody is using PLC, very funny naming structure or naming algorithm will be avoided, because that is what we have currently. A lot of people turning their invoices in such formats that is not consistent. So the invoice has come to standardize the way it is generated, and I'll speak to the details shortly. And then to standardize the method and the mechanism of both sending and receiving the e-invoice. The e-invoice itself is not the PDF generated, it's not the document, the Word document, it's not the JPEG that is generated or the email that is sent. it is actually the structured format that is issued, transmitted, and received electronically. If you look at the slide in front of you on your screen, you see, for instance, I extract the period. For instance, the period is like the timestamp, and the timestamp is like the start and end time. And if you can see what's on your screen right now, this is the period. The period is in such a format that is globally acceptable, right? Regardless of the time zone, regardless of the country, or you understand, this is something that helps everyone to align at the same time. So the supported format for the invoice types are both XML and JSON. Those are the supported types. So the e-invoice is not the PDF, it's not the JPEG or the doc that you send. The e-invoice is the structured format using the UBL standard, right? So let me just quickly run through some essential e-invoicing definitions, right? In the e-invoicing library, right, you would see information, you will see things like the e-invoicing solution, right? The invoicing solutions. The e-invoicing solutions are this they are the accounting softwares that are installed on your PCs or on your servers or on your phones or tablets or even the cloud-based platforms. Examples of these e-invoicing solutions include your online cash registers, the virtual cash registers on tablets, or even the cash register in front of a cashier at a shopping mall or a shopping complex, you know, where all this information are typed in. You just pull on the product code, and then there is a white leaflet that is generated as a result of the exchange of transaction. You know, you have gone to Spa, for instance, and you know, some people would actually generate an invoice for you, like using a PDF or the cash register itself. So an e-invoice solution is one of such. Your QuickBooks, your Oracle, your Microsoft ERP, your Microsoft Dynamics, your SAP, those are examples of the e-invoice solution. Right. You have the simplified invoice, right? The simplified type of invoice are those type of invoices where you get that you get when you have transacted a B2C transaction. And what do I mean B2C? I'll still get to the details. Where you have you've gone to a spa, for instance, or you've gone to a ShopRite and you've procured a couple of items, and all they need is to give you an evidence that you indeed transacted with them. And the invoice is adopting the paint model. I'll get to the details of that along the line, but has three major parts of the system. The distinct part of the system, which relates to the uniqueness of the transaction, the uniqueness of the person who is doing the business, and it would include the invoice number or the invoice reference number, the date, the address of the seller, right, as well as the details of the seller, you know. And then you have the shared. The shared is what information you are sharing, right? Meaning what was bought, the description, the quantity, the amount you sell it, the product categorization. Those are part of the shared. And then you have the aligned, the distinct, the shared, the aligned. The aligned is the part that is related to the taxation. As a matter of fact, this whole this whole solution is built on the premise that the federal government wanted to sponsor something that standardizes the way we do transaction in Nigeria. Up until today, we still have some people who will transfer couple of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they will simply write toothpick. It's part of the reasons why you will have the GDP record that we spend such heavy amounts of money importing toothpick. Do you understand? And in the actual case, we do not even know what those funds are for, because there is no proper definition into that. So the e-invoice has come to put clarity into every financial transaction. And lest I forget, at some point down the line, there will be laws that enables and empowers the e-invoicing such that certain transaction range will no longer be possible without an IRN, without an invoice reference number. Okay, so we have the simplified tax invoice that is divided into three spaces: the distinct, the shared, and the aligned. Then you have the tax invoice. The tax invoice is your A4, your regular A4 invoice that contains also the distinct, the shared, and the aligned part. And in this case, you have both the supplier and the buyer information. And this is the kind of invoices that transacts from B to B, right? Typical invoices between a buyer and a seller. And you have both their addresses, their information that allows us to be able to deal with it. And then you have the shared, which contains the goods description, the good description or the service description, the amount, the unit price. And then you have the aligned, which is the part that relates to taxation. I think I would now run along here. You have the IRN. I've mentioned the IRN so many times. The IRN is the invoice reference number, and this is the concatenation. You have your invoice number so that we don't disrupt the existing system, the way it works. You keep the invoice number, but now you will include a service ID of the business organization that is generating this invoice. The service ID of such business organization can be obtained by simply enabling themselves on the MBS platform through FIRS, and then the timestamp is what is appended at the end. Then you have the verifiable QR code. The QR code is one major important part of the e-invoicing. With the QR code, you have encrypted IRN, and then you have the CSID as well, the cryptographic stamp identifier that helps to perpetuate this QR code to the tax payer or to the invoice generator, meaning that you cannot just fabricate this QR code anyhow. We know today that there are free websites where you can just generate random QR codes, right? But this one is one that has a cryptographic stamp identifier called the CSID that helps, that can only be verified through the MBS platform, and this ensures that no invoice this avoids the duplicity of an invoice. Somebody can just somebody from Lagos or Luwali can just go and fabricate something. We know a lot of creative fraudsters, around all this, and how they can try to manipulate things. But this embedded cryptography would ensure that is properly guarded against and avoided. Then you have the system integrators, you have the access point providers. The system integrators are responsible for helping you to adapt and standardize your internal accounting system or e-invoicing system, right? And then the access point provider are responsible for helping you to validate and transmit your invoices. Let me just let me just explain the models that have been adopted. The model that has been adopted is the continuous transaction control, which means that you can continue to do your business. All you just need to do is to make sure that it is duly reported, So it means that you can continue to churn out your invoices, B2C, for instance, can the merchant can continue to use his cash register, and then at the end of the day, connects to an access point provider who, whether in real time or near real time, can extract the invoices that have been generated both in either in XML or in JSON format and transmit them to FIRS. The buyer would only get the simplified invoice, as I've shown up earlier, and can keep it for himself. There is going to be a time along the line where the government can do raffle draw and can do invoice, can do tax relief, or can even give tax refund, to a particular IRA, right? So if you have been given such invoices and you have scanned, there is an app today on the Play Store called MBS 360. MBS 360. You can download that app. That app enables you to be able to scan some of these invoices that you have been given, and you can own it. We know that a lot of B2C customers hardly provide their information when they're transacting. Take, for instance, you have gone to ShopRite to buy a bottle of Coke, right? You don't necessarily have to provide your phone number or NIN for them to identify you. But once it is generated for you, once a simplified invoice is generated for you, you can simply just use the MBS 360 app to scan that invoice so that you own it. The time is coming when people will begin to scamper for these invoices. Unlike those days where currently where we just collect those invoices and we just collect those papers and throw them away immediately. Now it becomes even more useful because there could be lottery and the government spins and draws a raffle and picks on a particular IRN. We have seen in some countries where a particular IRN, the value on a particular IRN is doubled or even multiplied by 10 and given back and credited back to the owner of that IRN. People begin to take the system more seriously. Those are some of the strategies that are still in the pipeline and at work already. So this is just the beginning. So you have the B2C where the buyer does not know anything happening other than just receiving his simplified invoice, right? The merchant is able to automate his e-invoicing for high volume customers transaction, and then can ensure accuracy and tax compliance. The access point provider will just help you transmit the invoices either real time or near real time. Then you have the B2B transactions, where in this case you have the merchant and you have the buyer, right? In other words, the buyer and seller, right? The seller in this case is the merchant, right? Is in the corner one. In the corner one, right, the merchant has his own e-invoicing solution, has generated an e-invoice, and the access point provider for the merchant has helped them to look up using the TIN that was provided for the buyer, and then is able to report the data to FIRS in corner 3, right? And on corner 3, the FIRS is able to append digital signature on that invoice, acknowledge it, and then locate through a lookup capability, locate the access point provider of the buyer and transmit and notify them of the IRN, right? Just the IRN, not that they will send the invoice to the access point. So the invoice, that the IRN notification is what the access point of the buyer receives, and then he knows for which of his which of the buyers, which of his own clients is the buyer, and then he in turn notifies them. The buyer receives that IRN. Because the IRN is locked to his own TIN, right? He is able to now download that invoice, right? And then he's able to decrypt the invoice and also upload the invoice on his own natural system. So we have the standards adopted. I mentioned earlier the Universal Business Language, and then the World Custom Organization Harmonized System of Codes, which is the HSN, right? That ensures that every goods or services has a global identifier, right? And it's currently in use, it's globally acceptable. That is what has been adopted in the system. We have a partnership with NICDA for GDPR and NDPA, right? We have the ISO 222, which speaks to financial information enrichment, which means that you are able to integrate this directly to your bank to be able to give them more information, financial information enrichment. Like I mentioned earlier, that some transactions will no longer be possible. Some range of transactions will no longer be possible without an IRN. Then the ISO 27001, which is information security, and the legal entity identifier, which speaks to being able to identify taxpayers that are beyond the shores of Nigeria, right? And we'll be able to transact with them. For Nigerians, we make use of the RC number provided by the CAC, right? And then, but there are some other things that is obtainable in other countries. Some of the compliance and regulatory requirements, that empowers FIRS to continue to do this is here shown. Section 23 of the new Tax Administration Act requires all taxable supplies to be recorded and reported using the electronic fiscalization system, which is now the e-invoicing solution, right? And then there are a lot of laws. Let me not bore you with those details. Some of the benefits and winding up now, some of the benefits of the e-invoicing is that it is more than just tax compliance. You save cost, you enhance security of transmission, because we protect against fraud and cyber crimes. Terrorism financing will be highly reduced. Then there will be reduction of error because there's no longer a man in the middle. Everything from the beginning to the end is going to be automated. And then you have increased efficiency, better business relationship, because there is smoother transaction between customer and supplier, faster payments, better cash flow, enhanced compliance. In this case, you don't need to carry big documents to file your taxes, right? And then we have expanded global reach because you are able to transact cross-border e-invoicing, using your local, even from your local system, you're able to identify other businesses and do business with them across the globe, right? How to onboard, visit firs.gov.ng/login, sign in with your tax promas credentials, or you can go directly to e-invoice.firs.gov.ng, right? And then you can click on Enable Me for e-invoicing on the dashboard, fill out the enablement form with all the required business and operational information. You'll receive a confirmation email once your account has been successfully enabled for e-invoicing, and then you can log into your e-invoicing portal. You can read and accept the data privacy and protection policy to proceed. And then under the manage access point section, you can review and set the permissions for your access point provider. I'm sure DigiTax will be able to tell you where they fall in that system. You can tell them what you want. You can give them the permissions. If you want them to be able to view your invoice data, if you want them to be able to decrypt it on your behalf, you know, all of those things. Then you can go to your developer settings to view and copy your API keys. These keys are essential for the system integration with the FIRS MBS platform. And then you can create.
Thank you very much. We have to end up now, so just 2 more minutes, and then we move to the demo.
Yes. So you can create a name and download your cryptographic key, and then you can begin managing your end-to-end invoice. So I think that's basically it. Currently, we're in the pilot and the full-scale rollout deployment phase. We are working with large taxpayers at the moment. I believe that DigiTax will be able to take you through the remaining part of the system. I hope that you have learned a thing or two. Thank you for having me, DigiTax, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, Lord. Thank you very much for the session, Ogajon. I think this was very, very informative. Even I have learned quite a bit. Even the document that you just shared, I've not seen it before. This is the first time I'm seeing it. So I'll reach out to you after now so that you can share that with me as well, so that I have it to go through. So thanks very much, audience. I'm sure everyone has learned a thing or two from the presentation. So now I'll take it from there and run through the DigiTax end of things, where I'll very quickly, because I'm aware that we are running out of time, I will very quickly run through maybe 5 or 6 slides, and then hand over to Rebecca to do a bit of the technical demo as well. So I'll just walk you through the dashboards, and if we still have some time, walk you through some of the API documentation. And then, you know, we take questions from the audience if we still have some time for that. So thanks very much. Belinda, can I share my screen by myself, or can you do that for me from your end?
Let me share on your behalf.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody, actually, it might be easier for me to just do it myself. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yep. Excellent. So I'll just do it myself, so it's easier to run through. So like I said, for the sake of this presentation, we'll refer to ourselves as DigiTax, even though the company itself is called Namiri Technology Nigeria Limited. We have been licensed as both a system integrator and access point provider. What that means is that as a system integrator, we are able, and this is very important, we are able to work with whatever ERPs or CRMs that you have in-house that you currently work with. We're able to guide you through how to integrate your ERM and your ERPs and CRMs for them to carry the invoices that the FIRS likes to see, and in the right format that the FIRS likes to see them, basically the invoice schema, and to also carry all the details that the FIRS needs to see on an invoice that will be compliant with the FIRS MBS platform. And then we are also licensed as an access point provider, which means that we can now take this invoice and transmit it to the FIRS platform for you, and then send you information or feedback that the FIRS has registered that invoice, and now they see it and it's in their records. The difference between the two is that a system integrator might be able to help you configure your ERPs or CRMs, but not necessarily transmit the invoices that will now be generated to the FIRS MBS platform. So you can configure your ERPs, but the FIRS does not see it until an access point provider carries it and transmits it to that platform. And why are we the best in the market? One, we have 20 different integration programming languages. Doesn't matter what your language, what your ERP or CRM is written in, we're able to connect with it because we can support the language. We have the ability to do queuing and scaling, which means that if you need to scale up, assuming that you're doing 1,000 invoices last month and you need to go to 2,000 right now, we're quickly able to help you scale that up, and we can support you with the space and the resources that you need to be able to get to that next point. The third advantage that we have that nobody has in the market is the functionality that allows us to continue to retry the MBS platform on your behalf. In case the platform is down or is going through an upgrade or whatever, you don't have to send the information to us more than once. We take it one time from you, and we continue to retry, and then we are able to get the result that we need to get at the end of the day. These are just three of the unique things that our API has that are market leading that no other APIs have. We currently serve over 800 customers, and we've enabled them process 10 billion. Like I said earlier, we have been doing this outside of Nigeria for about 3 years. We are coming to Nigeria now to offer the same service, and we're coming in with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge regarding this space. There's stuff that we have built into our product that are responses to challenges that different customers have had over the process of 3 years, right? A lot of the other people are still trying to figure out how this thing works. We have experience with this. We have worked with customers like yourself. Name it, we have worked with them, regardless of the scale. And as you can see here, this is just a sample of a few of the customers that we're working with, a few of the over 800 customers that we're currently working with. And you can see that we are sector agnostic. You see insurance companies, you see manufacturing, you see tech companies, you see schools, you see hospitals, all of these things. We can work with everybody to ensure that they are compliant with this invoicing policy. Currently, we support Glovo and Uber and M-Kopa outside of Nigeria, and we're now integrating with their Nigeria businesses also to ensure that they are e-invoicing compliant on that end as well. So our integration versatility, again, this is very important. If you use Odoo or SAP or Sage or Dynamics 365 or QuickBooks or Oracle, whether it's NetSuite, J. Edwards, whatever ERP system that you use, we are able to connect with it, right? And we have the technical know-how to be able to walk your team through what they need to do to make sure that those ERPs are properly configured for them to work with the FIRS MBS platform. So the solutions integrator, the integration architecture looks like this: tax regulator on the one hand, and then your ERP, your ERPs and your invoicing system. Even if your invoicing system is built internally, if it's custom made, we are still able to support it. So we are in the middle, mediating conversations back and forth, transmitting information back and forth from your platform to the tax regulator. In this case, that's the FIRS, to the FIRS Merchant Buyer Solution platform, and then back to your invoicing system as well. So advantages of our platform is that we have a multi-user dashboard in case you don't have an ERP. The primary use case is for us to come in and guide your team on how to make your ERPs, your internal ERPs, e-invoice compliant. In that case, you don't need to do anything else. You just need to integrate and then continue to run the activities, your invoice generation activities, all of that, exactly how you would normally do it, right? And then once we have that, then we can just take it on the back end because we are now connected and just transmit your invoices and also send the information back and forth from the MBS platform. But in case you don't have an ERP, we have a dashboard that you can use also as some kind of ERP. That dashboard enables you to have an account and download invoices and create invoices and send invoices. You can also email invoices from that dashboard. There's a lot of things that you can do. It also allows for you to do a bulk upload. So I know that somebody was mentioning in the questions earlier that they do small transactions quite frequently, and it's not typically invoiced, but the system that does those transactions, even the POS that you use to take payments, also generates what you know as some kind of receipt, which is also proof of the transaction. So at some point, those receipts will need to carry IRNs and QR codes. But for now, they may not carry it on the end of it to the customer, but for now, you are required to take all of your transaction details on a daily basis. So if you don't have an ERP yet, if you have an ERP, you are required to now generate invoices for them so that you can clear them on the MBS platform or get them on the validated and sent to the MBS platform. If you don't have if you don't have an ERP system, you are able to download a CSV from the DigiTax dashboard, right? A CSV file, and then put in all the details of those transactions, right? Put in all the details of those transactions and then upload them onto the dashboard in one fell swoop, bulk upload them. And then we take all of those information one by one, create invoices for them and transmit them to the MPS platform for you so that the FIRS now knows that those transactions happen on your platform. So that's how that works. So because of all of these features, we have simplified the integration process with the FIRS by at least 70%. So you don't have to do a lot of the work. We've already done all the heavy lifting because also we are an access point provider and a system integrator in Nigeria as well. Right, but also good to mention here that we don't necessarily tamper with your ERPs. We don't want to do that. We just tell your team. Most people who have an ERP typically know, they typically have an in-house team who manages it, or they have an external vendor or consultant who's responsible for it. So we work with those guys to make sure that we tell them what to do, so that your system becomes compliant as a system integrator that we are right now. So that's the DigiTax advantage. I will hand over to Rebecca now, but I also wanted to talk about the implementation plan. There's a discovery process, there's a process mapping, and then there's an integration planning, and then the integration proper. This entire process takes about 3 to 4 weeks, give or take, on the average. But if you want to move quicker than this, we are able to match your energy and just provide you what you need to be able to get this done quicker than 3 to 4 weeks. So yeah, we are also just to mention that again, what this means that we don't conduct the integration is that we don't tamper with your ERPs. We don't go in there. We work with the people who manage it, the engineers who built it or whatever, depending on what ERPs you use, to tell them what to do so that the ERP is properly configured. So all of our API documentation is online. If you go to docs.digitax.tech, you can see all the very technical API details. So you can see all kinds of information. It's very, very descriptive, very explanatory. Even somebody who's not a tech person can look around on the documentation and understand exactly what this is about. So yes, at this point, I will hand over to Rebecca to walk us through the dashboard and then a bit of the technical documentation as well. And then we can talk about the rest of it if we still have some time, and also take questions, of course, from the folks in the audience. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Rebecca, over to you.
Thank you, Olu, for that demonstration. Please confirm you can hear me clearly. Share screen.
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. So I am currently sharing my screen. This is the DigiTax dashboard. I have also shared 3 links to the chat box. So if you have a moment, please, you can check the chat box. I have shared the DigiTax API documentation. So that is our publicly available docs that the team can go through. And then the DigiTax dashboard link, which is what I'm currently sharing, and also the onboarding steps. John also touched a bit on this, on how to onboard on the FIRS platform. So the documentation will just show you how to onboard both on DigiTax and also on the FIRS platform, so that you can get started with the e-invoicing journey. So I will do a demonstration on the dashboard. And then for the technical folks who are on the call, feel free to schedule another, we can schedule another meeting so that you can do like an in-depth demonstration on the technical side. Then you can also answer your questions. Right, so to start us off, this is the, let me just move this a little bit here, yeah. So this is our dashboard, the DigiTax dashboard. So once you create an account, the process of creating an account is very simple. So you can create an account using your Google account, Facebook account, or your Microsoft account. So this is the sign up process, also covered in our documentation. And then if you already have an account, then you can just sign in. So I already have mine, so I'll just sign in using my Google account. So once you have signed in, I'll just select this email address here. So once you have signed in, the very first page is the profiles page. So think of profiles as a logical way of just grouping your businesses. So assuming you have a business in multiple or in different states in Nigeria, and you manage taxes differently for all those businesses, you can then create a profile that has the business in Abuja, for instance, and then another business in Lagos. And the process of doing that is you can give it a name. just a profile name, and then you can select the country. So in this case, select Nigeria. Then you can select the type of profile, whether it's a business profile or a personal profile. Then you save the profile, and the list would look like this. As you can see from my dashboard, I have quite a number of those. And even as you can see from the number of businesses listed, so for instance, in this profile, I only have one business. In this, I have 5 business. In this, I have another profile from another country. So this is a Zambian business with a Zambian profile with 1 business. So once that is done, I can click on the profile card, and then I get to the business page. So on the business page, you can now add your businesses. So you'll give us your business team number, the display name for your business, and then you can select the type of business that you'd like to create. So Olu has mentioned that we do offer a sandbox business. So if you create a test business, we'll then map it to a sandbox business, which will allow you to test different scenarios and also use cases based on how your business works, just to confirm that everything works, and also just to largely explore with various DigiTax features. If it's a live business, we'll then map it to the live FIRS business so that you can create production transactions to your business, to your customers. So once a business is added, you'll then get a list that looks like this. And then when you click on the business card, before we even go to the business card, one of the features that we currently support on the dashboard is multi-user access and interaction. So you're able to then add multiple stakeholders to access a certain business, and can do that by managing business here. So you can add like their other stakeholders' email addresses, and then you can select the role that you'd like them to have. So in this case, you can either give them admin permissions or regular permissions. So as an admin, you're able to create transactions, that is invoices, credit notes. You're able to generate reports, and you're also able to add more members to these businesses. As a regular member, you're able to then just view the transactions that are already existing in the dashboard. A good use case for this is if you have like an auditor that wants to audit your business, you can then add them to your business, but as a regular member. That way they'll just be able to view all the transactions that you've created, but they won't necessarily be able to create any transactions. So once you select the role, you can then select the business that you'd like to give them access to. And then in the business now, if you can just click on the business card. So this is where the transactions are listed, and also where you can do all these transactions. So just to add on this, all these features that I'm highlighting here are also supported via the API. So I've shared the link to the API documentation, so the technical team can also go through that. So in the business page, you can generate invoices, and this can be done either by generating an invoice one by one if you don't have lots of transactions, but you can also do a bulk upload of invoices, what Olu has mentioned. So the process to do that is you download a template, and then there are data points that we require for us to create those invoices. So you'll fill in that CSV template, and then you're able to upload. So you just choose from your file and then upload, and confirm that the records you want to upload are valid, then create those records. So once they've created, you'll then see the list of all the invoices displayed, as you can see from my screen. So I'll try create one transaction, like an invoice. So I'll select the date. So this is the issue date today. The due date is optional, but I'm going to select today. And then the invoice type. So these are the list of the invoice types that are supported by FIRS. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to say I'm creating a commercial invoice. The currency is pre-selected, Nigerian Naira. And then if you'd like to add some sample notes, you can also add them to the invoice. So in this case, I'll say sample invoice. And then you can select the items. So from the items list, I can select that I want to sell DigiTax product 14. Then the unit price and the tax rate are already pre-filled for you, but you can always edit the unit price. So I can say instead of 10,000, I'm going to sell it at 9,000 Naira. And then the tax rate is 7.5%. Then I'll input my quantity. If you have any discounts that you'd like to apply to this sale, you can add the discounts, and if you have any additional fees, you can also add them, but they're optional fields. So I'll then add that item to cart, review my item in the cart, and then continue. So if you're doing, and also John has also touched a little bit on this, if you're doing a B2B transaction, then you need to select the party details. So this is a customer that you're invoicing. If you're doing a B2C transaction, you don't necessarily have to select the party details, because more often than not, you might not have these details with you in your business. So I'll select Namiri Technology Limited, assuming that I'm doing a B2B transaction. And then in the other details, I'll select the delivery period, start date today. The end date is optional, but I'm going to select tomorrow. And then the trader invoice number. So this is a unique invoice number generated by your system, or if you'd like to just have unique numbers for all your transactions. So in this case, maybe I'll say invoice, that random number. And then the payment terms, you can see whether this is cash or debit or a bank transfer or credit. And then payment reference, if you have any order number or dispatch details, you can also add them. And then I'll continue. So let's say I say this is order, random number, continue. Then you get a review sales page where you can review all the details within your invoice, including the dates, the party you're invoicing, the item that you're selling, and then the tax breakdown and all the tax categories and the taxes that have been applied for that particular sale. Then you're also able to see all the payment terms, the references, and the delivery period. If something is wrong and you'd like to edit, you can always go back and edit. If everything is okay, then you can proceed and submit an invoice. So once an invoice is submitted, you'll see the date and time the invoice has been created. You'll also get an IRN number, which is generated by DigiTax. And just to reiterate what John mentioned, DigiTax is both a service provider, system integrator, and an access point provider. So one of the roles of an access point provider, a system integrator, is to generate an IRN number. So this one is generated for you once you submit that invoice. And then we also generate the invoice number, but if it is provided, then we display the one that you provided. So remember, we had a trader invoice number that's unique, so that is displayed here. But if you haven't provided that number, we then generate a unique one that looks like this. Then the amount and the invoice status. So in this case, we have quite a number of steps that we have covered so that we successfully transmit this invoice and also sync it to the FIRS NBS platform. So one, what we have done is we have successfully created that invoice. And then as a system integrator and also an access point provider, we have done the validation of that invoice. We've also generated the IRN number and the QR code data. Then we sent it to FIRS for signing, and the signing was successful. And then we then transmitted it as an access point provider. We transmitted that invoice to your party. So now the invoice has been successfully transmitted to the party. And then another feature that's supported both on the API and on the dashboard is the ability to update the payment status. So by default, the payment status is pending, but you can also update it to either paid or rejected. So if I update this invoice to paid, it is then marked as paid. If it's rejected, it's then marked as rejected. You can also generate reports. So if you'd like to generate a report for any selected period, you can select like a period which will get a pre-filled start and end date, and then the report will be sent to the email address that has logged into the dashboard. The other thing that you can do within this interface is also personalize your invoices by adding or managing a logo. So if you'd like to add your business logo, you can again upload from your files within your laptop and then add the logo. Lastly, under the actions, you're able to view an invoice, add a credit note to cancel the invoice, add a debit note to do any adjustments to an invoice. So an adjustment can either be in terms of the quantity or the price. And you can also view all the credit notes that you've created and also all the debit notes. So if you can view this invoice, I currently don't have a logo, but you can add a logo and it would appear on the left-hand side. On the invoice itself, you can download it, print it, or email it to your buyer. And then this is, we have also generated the QR code. So if you can zoom this, if you have the MBS 360 application, you'll then be able to scan the QR code and you can get the validity of that invoice. The other thing that you've generated is the ARN number, which is also displayed on the invoice. And then we have the dates and every other invoice details, including the invoice type that you've created and also the party details. And then lastly, the tax breakdown and items breakdown. So this one essentially highlights the tax category, which these items falls under, the tax rate, the taxable amount, and also the tax amount, and the total amount as well. So this is how an invoice would then look like on the dashboard. So I believe maybe we can pause there and see whether we have any questions in regards to this. But we're also happy to have another call separately if you'd like to go in depth into this presentation. Maybe back to you, either Olu or Belinda.
Thank you.
Coordinate the
Do we
question.
have any questions from the room? Is there anyone who's asking? I mean, we've seen some questions in the chat, but does anyone else have any questions? You can pretty much just unmute and speak up now so that we can answer those questions in real time, please. Thank you. One?
I'm not sure everyone is able to unmute.
Oh, okay. Well, please type your questions in the comments. We'll read them out and try to answer them. So maybe we take some of the questions that we've gotten and assume that everyone has not seen those comments as well. Where are those questions again? Did they disappear? I think they've disappeared though. Rebecca, can you go through some of the questions that we've gotten?
Yeah, let me go to the Q&A section.
Please.
Okay, 1 second. Okay,
Yes.
there's one that you've already answered, but this is in regards to how the integration works for hospitality businesses. So for example, that uses a point of sale system to sell to customers as opposed to invoices. So especially with B2C transaction, I believe this has already been captured in the responses. So maybe I'll go to the next question. So this is, okay. So this it says they work in a payroll processing company. How can they get our API integration details to enable their platform remit taxes seamlessly on behalf of the companies on their platform? So in regards to the API endpoint, I've shared the link, I believe, to the API documentation, but you're also happy to just schedule another call so that you can go through the API documentation in depth. But that was also covered during my presentation, where the API integration would essentially do whatever that I've just demoed, where you create an invoice and then that invoice is then sent to the FIRS platform, and you're able to then generate or print, download or email the receipt to your customers. Let's see, is there anything else? Someone asking, can we get the documentation from the FIRS? I believe this is the deck that John was sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if John is still on the call, but is that deck publicly available?
I'll share it with you guys.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
so
you.
that is shared. Thank you. There's also another question. What about clients with less than 1 billion in revenue? Are you able to scale down your support to accommodate them as well, especially for those who want to get in before it becomes mad rush? Olu, would you like to take that up?
Yes, we can. The reason that we are focused on the 5 billion guys right now is because they have a deadline of November 1st, within which they have to be compliant. So that's why our efforts are going to those guys. But we have also started engaging a couple of people who have reached out to us, especially those who have like SME communities and all of that, who have reached out to us to say, we want to get ahead of the rush that will happen starting from January next year. And we don't want to fall foul of the FIRS compliance policies as well. So for those guys, we are also able to support them. So please reach out to us. We can definitely support you to get you integrated. The good thing is that once you have done the integration, you have done it, and your processes just run. It doesn't require much. once it's done, it's done. It doesn't require much. It's not something that you have to be tweaking or redoing or whatever. And if there's any upgrade that's been made to the system or any service that's been added or whatever, we will cover all of those for you. And anywhere that you need to come in, we'll also inform you that, okay, you need to do this on your end, especially if you're integrated with like your ERPs or whatever. So it's a super light process, light touch type situation. So it doesn't take too much. So might as well just get it done, get it over with, is what I say to people who ask this question. But yes, the answer to your question is that we can. Thank you, Rebecca, for asking me to answer.
Amazing. Thank you, Olu. Believe you've been answered. The other question is, hi, there are times that customers decide not to be charged VAT, meaning VAT is self-charged. Does the platform consider that? I'm not sure if I get the question. Let me see. Alexander, do you mind providing?
I think I understand the question. So they're referring to some transactions that happen that are not VATable, that are supposed to be tax exempt, I believe. Or in some cases, decide not to be charged. So in some cases, some customers decide that they don't want to be charged the VAT, but that transaction still needs to carry a VAT element. So maybe what he's asking is if there's a way to structure it such that the person who's receiving the payment is the one who pays the VAT, rather than the customer who's sending it. John, have you had this experience before? Can you speak a little to this? John still with us? Oga John. Okay, maybe I'm not sure how this works. But again, the use of this whole thing is clarity and transparency. The entire point of the e-invoicing policy is transparency and clarity, right? So I reckon that if you are able to, so there's also a feature that I think Rebecca should talk about, which is like the self-billing feature as well, where if somebody pays you, especially without an invoice, if you receive money without an invoice, you are able to create an invoice that is a self-billing invoice, right? Where you can say that this person paid me, there was no invoice, but you can do like a self-billed invoice. Maybe in that way, you can do a self-billed invoice for that payment and then add like a VAT element for that payment as well, just for clarity purposes and for record purposes of the, I think Rebecca is demoing it now on her screen share. Rebecca, are you able to then generate an invoice and add a VAT element to that invoice?
Yes. Thanks, Olu. So from let me just go to my shared screen. So from this screen, as you can see, what I've selected as the invoice type is the self-billed invoice. So what this means is that you can generate an invoice on behalf of your supplier. So if the supplier is not yet on the invoice, but you'd like to record this transaction to the MBS platform, then you can generate that invoice on their behalf. So you select a self-billed invoice from the invoice type, and then depending on the item that that they have sold to you, then the tax rate is then recorded. So in this case, this item is a standard VAT, or that tracks a standard VAT of 7.5%. So you can then just create that transaction as is with the VAT included, the quantity and the price. And then if you have any discount, again, in additional fees, you can then add them and you can continue. So the process is the same, only that now at this point, you'll now be selecting yourself, for instance, let me just say Rebecca, as the party, because you're creating an invoice on behalf of your supplier. And then I'll proceed with the process. Let me just leave the optional fields as blank for now. And then this already now attracts the standard rated VAT 7.5. And as you can see now, the tax VAT is 750 Nigerian naira. So the process is still the same, only that one, you'll select a different invoice type for self-billed, and then you'd be invoicing yourself, because you're creating an invoice on behalf of your supplier. Thanks. Thank you for that.
So amazing. That's a workaround for when you want to pay the invoice rather than your customer. You can self-generate you can generate a self-billing invoice that takes that into consideration and send it to yourself, because then that transaction then is covered, and the VAT element of it then comes out of your payments, so that everything is now on the straight and narrow. I hope that answers your question, Alexander. At least for now. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Does anyone else have any further questions before we close the room? I think that we are well over time. So if there are no other questions, I just want to say that if anyone is trying to reach out to us, please send an email to us. You can send it to me directly. My email address is olumide.akinshola@namiri.tech, olumide.akinshola@namiri.tech. I will put it in the comments, so that if you need to request a different session or a private session where you want us to talk to your team, or you want us to talk to your management or whatever, we're also able to do that. Sorry, I'm just saying that we have a bunch of questions actually in the Q&A.
Yeah, I was about to say that there's still more questions in the...
Sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't scroll down. Anyway, so yeah, which is the next, where there is a dispute, an invoice is recalled or revised. Can we also do this on the FIRS invoicing platform? Rebecca, do you want to run through these questions and then I provide some context?
Sure. No, I don't mind. Yeah, thanks for this question, Jude. Yes, so to revise an invoice or basically canceling, you need to create a credit note. So if I can just demo real quick how to create a credit note. So based on this invoice that we created, this is also supported on the API as well if you'd like to do a system integration. But let me showcase this on the dashboard. So you can come to the actions page and then add credit notes. At this point, if you have some notes that you'd like to add, you can also add them. So CN, let's say a random number, and then the other details are already pre-filled for you. So then you can continue, and you can raise, if you can just go back, you can raise a partial credit note. So you can either reduce the price or the quantity, and you also have some validations around this. So you can continue and then create credit notes. So that credit note has been created, and if I view the credit note on this side, so it's already been created, and it's similar. The structure of this credit note is similar to an invoice, because a credit note is basically another invoice type. So hope that answers your question, Jude. What's the cost implication? This is from Anu. Olu can pick that up.
Yes, let me quickly address that. So typically, if we're integrating with your ERPs and also, so we're performing an SI and an APP function, the cost is structured in 3 ways. So first is an integration support fee, which depends on what system you are using and how complicated the job will be and what kind of resources you need from us to support that integration. And then there's an annual license fee, which covers your access to the dashboard, because the dashboard is always offered as a complimentary option. So even if your ERP is down or it's being upgraded or something is, or you're doing whatever it is, or it's being serviced or whatever, you can always be compliant. You always have the dashboard. In fact, the FIRS requires us as a system integrator and access point provider to hold on to these data points. This data that goes back and forth for about 7 years is part of the requirements for the license. That's why they made us go through a NITDA verification and also an NDPC licensing process as well. So we are licensed as a data processor in Nigeria. And we do not use your data to do anything, but just hold them in place for you, so that if you have to call them at any point, maybe you lose access to the data on your ERPs, for instance, and you need to see something from like a year ago, maybe a year from now, you need to see something from like this month or last month, you are able to query the dashboard and it's able to provide it for you. That's a requirement that the FIRS has mandated. So the dashboard is offered as a complimentary service, and all of these other features that I talked about, the bulk upload service, all of these other asynchronous functionality, all of this other 20 language support, all of that is offered as that, and that also factors into the annual license fee for that. And then there is a cost per invoice that speaks more to our function as an APP than directly. So the cost of taking this invoice and delivering it to the FIRS platform, also delivering it back to you, is what we charge per invoice. So those three elements typically come into play, but it's usually very flexible and negotiable. So depending on a number of things, also depends on, for instance, the number of invoices that you are doing on a monthly basis. For people who are doing a lot of volume, a lot of something, we have some customers that we're speaking to right now who are doing like 1,500,000 invoices on a monthly basis. For those people, we can work out a cost that works for them per invoice so that it's not too heavy on their business, because those businesses tend to be like small transaction that are carried out at a rapid frequency. So there's big companies who only do like 10 invoices a month or 5 invoices a month or something, and those are like high ticket invoices. So we just work with whoever, and we ask them all of these details. They share with us. We are able to then design a commercial agreement or structure that works for them specifically for their use case as well. So yeah, that's typically how the cost works. So if you talk to us again privately, you give us all the details that we need to know, we're able to fashion out something that really works for you, that doesn't overburden your resources as well, but also works for us also as a business. So please reach out if this is a conversation you want to advance, and we can figure out what the cost of these things will be to you, for you to get compliance. So yeah, back to Rebecca.
Thank you. We have 3 more questions. So one, in the event of a system downtime, either on our side or FIRS side, what fallback mechanism exists to ensure invoicing and compliance process aren't disrupted? So one, if you experience any sort of downtime, at least on DigiTax end one, we make sure that we send comms to our customers, just making sure that they already know, like, we are having a downtime. Although these are in very rare cases, but we do provide external communications just to let you know that we're having a downtime. In case FIRS has any downtime or is intermittent, we do have a retry mechanism on our end. So how this happens is you will continue sending us your data, we will hold on to that data, and then we'll keep on retrying until if the FIRS system is back up, then we'll do the transactions, or we'll sync those transactions to FIRS. So the reason why we do this is just to make sure that we avoid you creating multiple and duplicate invoices, so that you're not also tasked twice or thrice. So we do have a retry mechanism that supports that on our end. And then the other question, I think, tied to this is, please, what are the key compliance risk businesses should prioritize mitigating from day one to avoid penalties? So I have shared a link to the onboarding guide and the steps that you need to take so that you can fully onboard on the FIRS platform. But just to make sure that we've captured this, is that the compliance date, I believe the deadline is 1st of November. So I believe that is the only risk in businesses that I can see. But in terms of the compliance steps that you need to follow, that is also captured within the onboarding documentation, and it covers how to just get enabled for e-invoicing, how to onboard, and also how to onboard on DigiTax. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. And then the last one is, do you have to upload products into the DigiTax dashboard, seeing that the item field dropdown field is not a user input? Yes. Just to showcase that real quick. Yes, so you need to upload the items first. So for businesses that don't have many items in their catalog, they can opt to add them one by one, and that will require the item name, the product or service code. This is at the HSN code that were provided to us by the FIRS. And then you need to add the item category, the tax category for that particular item, the item description, and the unit price. So that is for businesses who don't have many items. If you have multiple items, you can do a bulk upload. So similar to the invoices, you download the template, you input the data points that you require to create the item, and then you can do a bulk upload of that CSV. And then once uploaded, you will see the item generated with a unique item number for each item, and you can see them on this list. So now at the point of creating invoices, once you do that breakdown, or rather drop down, you'll be able to see all the invoices that you have on the on the DigiTax platform. I hope that answers your question, Kenich. And then there's also, I think we have 2 more questions, but Belinda, you can let us know if you are running out of time, yeah? Can we get a direct phone line to call for inquiries? I believe this is for Olu.
Please call me. I will put my phone number also in the comment section. So you can call me at least for now. And then, yeah, we can have conversations and you can ask me your questions, and whatever I have answers to, I'll provide. The ones that I don't, I will tell you that I don't, and we'll go and ask the people who do. So please reach out to me. I am putting my number in the comment section right now.
Thanks. I think there's one last question. So after creating an invoice, is the tax paid to FIRS through the DigiTax, or just the invoice is transmitted to FIRS? So the latter, we only transmit the invoice to FIRS. The tax obligation is to the taxpayer. So you're obligated to do the tax payment and also filing the taxes. We're only responsible for transmitting the invoice to the tax authority and also to your customer as an access point provider. Would you like to add something to that, Olu? Or
I wanted to also say that that at the moment right now, where the product is at is what Rebecca just said. Nothing is changing in your tax filing or payments process. This is just to provide more clarity, so that by the time you are doing your tax filing, you know exactly what you're filing for and how much you need to pay and all of that, and then you can go on and pay that. But in the future, and these conversations are being had in parallel, there might be a situation where there's a tax filing API that's integrated onto our dashboard, or that you can call from our API. And then there's also a payment, say for instance, remitter tax payments integration that we can also do, that you can also have access to from our dashboard, or that you can also call from our API. What that means is that at some point in the near future, hopefully, and these are conversations that we're engaging with different stakeholders about. I've talked about the folks who are close to the Tax Pro Max platform on what they're actually doing. I think the FIRS also says they're doing some innovation around that as well, to be able to offer some services as APIs on the Tax Pro Max. And I've also spoken to people who have like tax payments, integrations and licenses, like Remitter, for instance. I've had a conversation with us. So in the future, you might begin to see that this entire tax compliance thing happens in one process, right? So you generate your invoices, we take those invoices from you, we get it stamped and signed and sent to the FIRS platform to be recorded, and we tell you that the FIRS has seen it. When you're doing your tax filings, you look at those invoices, there's a button that says click to file your taxes. You click, it opens a Tax Pro Max page where you can do your tax filing or whatever, or maybe the page is even integrated into the platform itself. Opens the Tax Pro Max page where you can do your filing, and then when it's time to pay, you see another button. After you're done, see another button that says pay your taxes, and then you pay your taxes, and it calls the Remitter API, and then you're able to make the payment to the Remitter platform, and then Remitter sends you back your receipt, which we also store for you on the dashboard that you also have access to, and it's also stored on your ERP as well. So these conversations are happening. The entire thing that FIRS is trying to achieve is to simplify this whole process and make it as seamless as possible. So this is just still early days. There's a lot of innovation that will still happen. There was a lot of collaborations that will still happen between different companies holding different things or running different things at different ends of things, just so that everything is seamless for you, the taxpayer, to do, so that it's easier for you to be compliant. So it's not as difficult as it currently is. So please stick with us. We're going to keep you posted on how that conversation goes, so that by the time you're able to do the whole process in one fell swoop, we can just tell you that this has been activated and now you can do it. But for now, Rebecca's correct. The process is only for us to take those invoices and transmit to the FIRS platform right now. So that's the leg that you're only now able to do for now. Thank you. I hope that's clear.
Thank you, Olu. So I'll just cover this last question, then I'll hand it over to you, Obelinda. So is there going to be an e-receipt after the e-invoicing? So I'm currently sharing, I don't know if you can see the print receipt on my screen. So what I have done is, once an invoice is generated, you can either download it, print it, or email it to your customer. So if I can use this print example real quick, I'll get a pop-up of how the invoice would look like in a printed document. So it will have your QR code, your IRA number, your invoice number, and every other sale details attached to the PDF. So yes, you will get an invoice. So I hope that answers all your questions. Feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions. For now, I'll hand it over to you, Olu.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you very much for taking us through that. So I think we are now going to close. If there are no other questions, my email is in the chat or in the question Q&A page. And so is my phone number. So if anyone needs to reach out to ask any questions, please reach out to me directly to ask your questions. I'm happy to take some of these things. Of course, at some point, we will need to send, I will need to coordinate with all the other departments that are responsible for all these other things at different points. But please reach out to me at least for now so that we can talk about what questions you have and what your challenges are. Also, if you send us an email, we'll respond. So you are also able to send us an email. Rebecca, can you please put the email for inquiries and whatnot in the chat as well, so that when that comes through, we're able to get it and we're able to respond to you. So for some people, it might be easier to type out all your questions and email it so that we're able to respond back to you. And if you would like a technical session, a deep dive into the APIs, we have shared the link to those APIs right now, but if you would like us to do a demo for your team and you want to put your team together so that we can do a demo for them as well and also answer their questions or whatever, we're also happy to do that. So please also reach out so that we can also schedule that session as well. So if there are no further questions, I think my work is done here. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I will hand you over to Belinda now to give the closing remarks so that we don't take too much extra of your time. Thanks a lot for coming with us. We'll have these sessions hopefully every 2 weeks or every month as we start, so that people can come in and ask questions. It's going to be like our own little community that will grow. So every time there's we have your email addresses because you signed up for this session today. So every time there's another session coming up, we'll be sure to just email you. And every time there's something also going on, maybe there's an update from the FIRS or whatever, we'll be sure to make sure that we keep you informed. And so you will always know when we have a webinar coming up or when something's happening. And we're going to try to make sure that we keep that relationship and we continue to grow it and we keep it going as well. So thank you very much again, everyone, for coming. See you at the next webinar.
All right. Thank you, Olu. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session. Please be on the lookout in your emails for the recording. We'll share with you, and every material that has been shared today, we'll be able to share that with you as well, so that you can keep having a look at the material and continue to understand what this mandate is all about. So cheers, and we hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Belinda. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye-bye.